If anyone's in the boardroom, we can't on Zoom hear anything or see anything. It's muted.
Well, James, I can hear you.
Is ready? Okay, I'd like to call the Newburgh Dundee School District Board of Directors Board meeting to order. Director DeHart, would you like to lead us in the flag salute? Okay, I'd like to let the community know that we have Director Wolfer and Director Woodward are on Zoom for our meeting. And we are going to recess into executive session for ORS 192.6602H to consult with legal counsel regarding the legal rights and duties of the public body with regard to current litigation or likely to be filed. The representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. We will hold our executive session in the superintendent's office for the duration. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. And so we'll now go in and meet. And in times past, we've sort of gone to Dr. Radich's office and had you guys, we've had it in here. We're going to go in there. So you guys just all sit tight for everybody who plans to be in the audience, and we will be back as soon as possible. Okay, we are going to call the Newburgh Dundee School Board of Directors back into session after our previous executive session, and I will turn it over to Lisa to discuss the personnel action.
Okay, very quickly. Uh, Kyle Abraham was,
We've
had Is it on?
challenges with
okay. Okay. So Kyle Abraham is the attorney that you have engaged for purposes of providing you advice related to Dr. Phillips' contract. Kyle was supposed to be here this evening. He is unable to be here because of illness. So I am kind of stepping in to basically pitch hit for him at this point. You had asked for council to prepare a notification that would go to Dr. Phillips pursuant to the current contract that he has. Under his current contract, you have a couple of different options in terms of communicating him about his status. One of them is in 10C that talks about a notification when there is a desire to bring an end to the contract at some point and date in the future. And it requires about a 12-month period of time for that notification, along with a 12-month consultation period following that. We have worked on drafting a notification that would satisfy that obligation to provide him that notification. But at this point, we need the board to approve or authorize us to send that notification. And so our hope is tonight for you to make a decision as to whether or not to send that notification to Dr. Phillips or not.
And that notification would then be signed by me as the chair and sent out? Okay.
Right. Given that the way your policies are written, the board chair basically acts on the decisions of the board and implements them. Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Can you hear me all right? All right. I
Yes,
moved
James,
Beth and Newburgh.
James,
Okay, go ahead.
I have one
Oh,
that's
do you have
written.
it? Never
Yes.
mind. Sorry. Didn't
Okay.
realize that.
Thank you.
Never mind.
I moved that the Newburgh School District send Dr. Phillips the required 12-month notice pursuant to section 10C of his contract.
Do we have a second?
Second.
James Wolford is a second. Call for discussion. All right, and Nancy, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I was raising my hand. I just wanted to, in discussion, it's my understanding that this is not, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the final decision. The board still has an option for another decision at a later date if needed or if desired.
That's true.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. Those in favor? No.
All right.
Aye.
We have, okay, so for the record, the ayes are Nancy Woodward, James Wolfer, Aubrey Nichols, Jeremy Hayden, Deb Bridges, and Saul Allen. Any noes? And a no is Trevor DeHart. And then the motion carries 6-1.
Okay, so at this point, I will communicate to Kyle that we are to go forward and finalize that notification and get that sent out. That leads us to a couple of other things that now need to be addressed. One is your contract with the current interim superintendent ends on August 13th. So we do need to, we don't need to do it tonight, but we do need to engage in a conversation about next steps in terms of whether or not we wish to extend, and if so, if Dr. Radish is willing to extend her contract. So we'll end up having to have that conversation on August 13th. So put that on your list of things to do. The second thing that it will do is we will have to move forward with a long-term replacement, which means we will go through the process that exists in your board policy about declaring a vacancy and beginning the process of a superintendent search. My recommendation would be to move fairly quickly since you're working with a short-term interim. The one of the best ways to maybe move a little bit faster would be to delegate some responsibility to your chair to come back with a plan for the August 13th meeting as to what a search might look like, and to come back with some recommendations as to whom could conduct that search and could be hired to carry out those steps.
Don't we already have a committee for this?
We do have a personnel committee,
You could
a
delegate.
standing personnel committee.
Are you, I can't remember the three that are on there. Are you able to meet maybe between now and the next board meeting to talk about this?
So the three members of the personnel committee are Nancy Woodward and James Wolfer and myself. I think we can have a meeting. But it sounds
Yes.
like you might want me specifically to have some authority to do.
Right. And all this, let me clarify. I think that committee is going to be very important, Director Hayden, and may actually do some of the heavy lifting for us in terms of the actual search process as we go into this. All I want for the 13th is for us to have identified potential search consultants who could do the job. And kind of just a general, outline of what, some of those next steps would kind of look like, in terms of there's the qualities and qualifications so I do think that you were thinking exactly where I was headed, which is I think there's going to have to be a number of meetings. And so we need to be a little more flexible than probably a 7-member board can be in terms of being able to meet on a regular basis over the next 30 to 40 days. And so your subcommittee may actually serve a really good purpose for that. But at this point, I just want someone to come back because I'd like to be able to move forward with a consultant who will actually start to guide that process at the meeting on the 13th. So it's a little more of a limited responsibility.
So are you needing a motion for us to vest authority in our chair for that?
Yeah, whether it's a motion or a consensus, whatever you guys, as part of your operating procedures, put together as how that
I
authority
think a
gets
motion would be
delegated.
clean, more clean.
Before we put a motion out, what type of resources would this person have to, I mean, I don't think anybody, maybe Trevor's the only one that's had any type of search. So,
Yeah, I helped the board with the last search, so I will kind of give, I mean, given that we're going to be probably searching for an interim and not a long-term replacement, you're going to probably have to do this in 2 stages. I think there's a couple of resources that I would be able to provide Director Bridges for her to reach out and call. For instance, the Oregon School Boards Association does interim searches. So does the Confederation of School Administrators. And there was another one that did a search for the ESD, and I'm trying to get a hold of those names so that Director Bridges could at least call, see if they were available to do the search, what it would cost, how quickly they could turn it around, and then she'd be able to report back so that you could make a decision.
thank you.
I won't make her Google it.
Anybody want to do this awkwardly? Anybody want to make a motion?
So what do you need to, Lisa, can you remind us what you need it to say? I can
Can-
make it, but I just want to make sure it's,
Can
I'm writing
I just
down
have
what
you
needs to say.
delegate to Director Bridges to come back at the next meeting with some information regarding consultants and next steps for an interim superintendent search?
Yes, okay. I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public School Board of Directors delegate to Share Bridges to gather info and about consultants and next steps regarding an interim superintendent at our next board meeting.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor?
I
I,
Aye. Okay, it appears we have Nancy Woodward, James Wolfer, Aubrey Nichols, Jeremy Hayden, Deb Bridges, and Saul Allen voting yes. Any noes? No from Director DeHart. And that concludes that. Okay, is there anything else that you need from us?
Nope, that wraps up our business that I need this
Okay.
evening.
This is not a special, this is not a regular board meeting. We are not having public comment tonight. Our next board meeting where you would have opportunity for comment would be August 13th. And that would be our regular scheduled board meeting at 6 p.m. And for that, I think we're adjourned. Thank you.